is a real honor here to stand and speak on and really feel the loss of Mike Carroll with you. I can't tell you the length of time that he and I have worked together on many, many, many Pierce County issues. His mother actually was a constituent in my district, and I can remember the day I doorbelled her house and talked with her. She was a teacher, and she said, "You know who my son is?" I said, "Well, I really don't know. Mike Carroll." and she said, "I warn you, he's not a Democrat." She was a Democrat. It's interesting, and I know she's still with us, and Lord knows we all feel the pain of his early loss. I mean, this is a person that was a peak of his career, and you're not supposed to leave us at the peak of your career. And I think that, Mike and I go back to the days of working on Pierce County issues in the House, and because he and I served together on that issue dealing with the Special Commitment Center in Pierce County. And if anything, Jeannie, you're absolutely right. If anything brings people together, that issue did bring Pierce County together. And it was then that I really began to see Mike's strength and maybe his weakness, but Mike wanted everything in legislation dealing with that Special Commitment Center, and that he wasn't going to be happy with any bill unless it spelled out completely how those prisoners would be, or those special commitment folks would be managed in their trips to and from Pierce County. And he stressed that. There were 6 or 7 of us working on that issue in the House, and Mike was just insistent upon every detail being spelled out in legislation. And I think that kind of characterized Mike Carroll in so many ways. Mike, I think if all of us know, he wanted this legislation to be as specific as possible. And sometimes he would drive us crazy on that, right? Because Mike wasn't content to leave issues to rulemaking. He wanted it spelled out in the bills. And I think that most recently I saw that in the issues dealing with the smoke issue in Pierce County. Again, spell it out in the bill. Don't trust the rulemaking. Mike and I worked together on the fair share issue, and its genesis was in the Special Commitment Center bill. And from there, Mike went further with Senator Regala and others to develop more fully released facilities, but was then that we really achieved this significant victory for Pierce County in terms of fair share. And to me, that's why I consider Mike a real important champion of Pierce County. He also served, we had the great discussion here about Lorraine Wojon, unfortunately another person we lost this year. And Mike was right there battling once again for a critical Pierce County issue of having a trauma center, for crying out loud, in Pierce County. Something that somehow had got lost, having that critical trauma center in a city the size of, or county the size of Pierce County. And Mike was, Senator Hargrove, a champion of Western State Hospital. And it came out of his basic belief, and I believe this strongly, Mike felt he was here to represent his constituents. And there wasn't a time, we always have a Worker Memorial Day. Talk about values, Mike always came down to the Worker Memorial Day celebration at Western State and committed himself with all of us who were there to addressing the degree of assaults in that hospital. And he was a champion against often the actions of many of you sitting here to close down those wards at Western State. Western State Hospital to him was his constituents, his need to ensure that we can't release folks to community services that are not there. And that he continued that championing of Western State in many, many bills. I think every time I came into a legislative session here on the Senate floor the last several years, Mike always has a stack of about 10 or 12 bills on the first day of the session, right? He didn't stop doing legislation during the interim. He was working on bills all through the interim, and when he arrived here, he had a huge stack of bills for us. I think Mike Carroll probably introduced more bills than almost anyone here, right? Is there anyone else who can meet his productivity? I doubt it. Mike was active legislator, very, very active. And you know, to me, he was active about Pierce County, and he was always there on Pierce County issues. Those of us from Pierce County know that. And so we're going to miss him, the Pierce County delegation. We're going to miss a person who was always on the front line on our issues, especially on criminal justice issues. And many of us are going to have to step up to replace him. But Mike, we know you're listening in on this and asking us not to forget this basic commitment to our constituents.